I'm so excited about being here, first of all, because of the Caldwells, I have to admit that. But it's also, I get excited about the opportunity to speak with young people. You know, when I was a young man, my dad would often say, son, a bought lesson is the best lesson. You know, so if you go out and I used to have to think about that for a little bit to figure it out. Later off, I did. Those things where you learn firsthand something, sometimes you don't forget those things. But he had a second part of that. He said, as you go through life, you'll never have enough time or money to get all the lessons that you need to get through life. And so I applaud you for being here today to listen to these people who are out in the industry working. You don't have to learn everything firsthand. You can, it's wise to, as you go through life, to find good mentors and good people you can listen to and learn from them, learn from their experiences, and you can speed up your development process. And so I'm excited. You talk about jobs. My job up here is to introduce the Caldwells, which I'm going to do, but they also asked me to make a few comments about leadership, team building, and whatever. So that's what I'm doing. But one of the things I heard you talking, you're in that point in your lives right now where some of you are not sure what you're going to do or where you're going to go or what job you're going to do. So I'd give 2 or 3 little thoughts. Number one, don't be overly concerned about the pay. That sounds pretty simple, huh? Don't be over concerned. Find some place where you can go and learn. Go try to find, as you evaluate the people you're going to work for, try to pick out the best places. These people here seem like they really know what they're doing. They're not going to pay me as much as these people over here, but if I go in here and learn from these people, I'll be learning good things, which speeds up my development. So that's one thought. Another thought. Go in there, and this I think is a little bit of a, I don't know if it's a problem or maybe it'd be a plus with young people today, but there's a tendency, and I've talked to people in the industry, and there's a tendency for young people they just bounce around everywhere. You know, get here and then, you come out of school, you ought to be president of the company first year. So I'm saying to you, I always had a term I like, be patiently impatient. And whatever you're doing, the job that you have, be the best that you can be at that job. And I saw guys in coaching that had ability, had a lot of ability, but they spent so much time worrying about the next job that they didn't do as good a job as they could do with the one they had, so they just never advanced like they should have. So whatever you're doing right now, do it in such a way that people will be hunting you up for the next job. So don't spend all your time looking down the road to the next job. Another thing, people talk a lot about leadership. I think a term, and I don't even know if it's even a real word, I think it is, but something that's not talked about enough is fellowship. And as young people coming out into an industry, it's great to be ambitious and all those things are positive. But to learn how to go in and be supportive, and we saw that in football all the time. Guys would come in out of high school and they were highly recruited and all that. And it would take some time to ever get their feet back on the ground and say, you know what you need to do? You need to learn how to be the best backup guard we can have. You're not ready to play right now. So if you spend all your time saying, I should be starting, I'm not starting, or this or that, then pretty soon, you know what, you're also not getting any better because you're not doing the things that you should be doing to polish yourself up so that when your opportunity comes, you'll be ready to take it. So when you go in there, be a great supporter of the person you're working with, be a great supporter of the company you're working for, and if you do those kind of things, then when your opportunity comes, you'll be ready to step it up. So be a great follower if that's something. It doesn't mean don't be ambitious, but it means that in the role you're in, do a great job for that. If you're the backup quarterback, be a great backup quarterback. One of the best examples of that, I had a young man here in '98, we won the Big 12 championship, Brandon Stewart, who was recently recognized in the top 100 Aggie companies this past year. So Brandon's a backup quarterback. He had been beaten out by another young man. So we go through 10 games that year. We win the Big 12 South, but in our last regular season game, the starting quarterback breaks his collarbone. So he's out. So we go in the Big 12. We're playing the #1 team in the nation in St. Louis. #1 in one poll, #2 in the other. And we're 15-point underdogs. So a lesser man, when Brandon was beaten out, he could have pouted and he could have quit, could have just quit. But he could have hung around and just not really prepared himself. But he had the greatest attitude. He went to all the meetings with a great attitude. He practiced every day with great attitude. And then all of a sudden, starting quarterback's out, we've got to go play for the championship. And he played like gangbusters. He played the best game of his career, and we won the championship. And so every Aggie around remembers the performance of Brandon Stewart in that Big 12 championship. What I remember is his attitude throughout the year when he was the backup quarterback and how he prepared every day for his opportunity when it came. So those are some little points right there. And talking about leadership, it's been, some of this stuff's going to be repetitious from what I heard this morning and some of the things that Fred's talked about. I know you've already heard, but number one, the single most important thing that a leader does, I think, is sets the culture. As a leader, when you get into a role that you're leading, maybe just an department that you're running, in football, I was a leader early on when I just had my little room full of defensive ends. And then later I became a defensive coordinator. So now I had the whole defense in multiple positions. Then I became the head coach and I had offense, defense, kicking game, the whole deal to account for. But when you're a leader, you have to have strong, careful consideration about what it is. What do you want your group to be? How do you want them to perform? And what are you all about? And that's one of the things I'm so proud of Fred, and I've heard people allude to it this morning, some of the talks. There's no question about what Caldwell Company is all about. And that doesn't just happen. You've got leaders of that company. The leader, Fred, is totally committed to what they are. Everyone understands it. It's not something that just, once you get the ball rolling, it keeps running. It's something you have to keep revisiting all the time and readdressing. Number one, you have employees come and go. I had players come and go, coaches come and go. And so you have to always say, this is how we do things. I had a deal, I'll give you an example of what I'm talking about, of being committed to it. I had a guy, I hired a coach, and I'd always try to make a point of making sure new employees and new players knew what our culture was, how we did things. And so I had this coach I hired, and I thought I did a good job of telling them what I was all about and what our program was. I told them, I said, we go out, one thing, we go out and recruit young men. We go into homes and take a family's most prized possession, their son, and they entrust him to us to come down here and be under our leadership for 4 years. And I never was cursed as a child. My coaches never cursed me. I don't curse my sons, and so I don't want us to be cursing some other young. You can be forceful, you can be demanding, you should be demanding, but never using foul language and abusive language to a young man. So anyway, I made that clear with everybody I hired, and we didn't do it. So I go out there and we start spring training, and man, I couldn't believe what I was hearing. And because I wasn't used to hearing that. So I didn't say anything in practice, but I couldn't wait to get practice over. And I got in after practice and I said, you need to come back here, you and I need to talk. I said, man, these are our guys. We recruited these guys. These are some family's sons. And I said, we don't talk like that. It's negative. It bothers me, first of all. And so, okay, coach, I get it. So then what I figured out happened, he became very aware when I was around. So if I'd walk down on his end of the field, everything kind of changed a little bit. And then some days I'd be on this end, and that wind blows down. That wind be blowing. I could hear, what was going on. It hadn't really changed much. It just changed when I was around. Or I'd walk down the hall in meeting rooms. So we had several more conversations that year. At the end of the season, I called him in. I said, look, I've tried to change the situation. You apparently don't want to change, and I'm too old to change, and I'm too committed to change. So what you need to do, you need to go somewhere where they will appreciate your style of coach. And the guy was a good coach. He's in the National Football League right now. But that doesn't fit here. You don't appear willing to change. And I'm not willing to change because I've got an idea of what we're all about. And so whatever those things are that are important to you and important to a company, if you're going to say, you can't be bouncing everywhere. You got to say, this is what we are. This is how we do things. One of the things in coaching that here in a couple of years ago, there's a guy, a former player named Joe Erdman, who has a book called Inside Out Coaching. And he said he applied this to coaches, but it applies to any industry, any leader. Number one, why did I do this? Whatever these things that each of you had that you want to go do, you ought to spend some time and say, so why do I want to do that? And so if you're doing it, so why do I want to be a planner? Or why do I want to build houses? Or why do I want to develop master plan communities? Why do I want to do that? Number two, how do I do that? What are my methods? The people working for me, how do I manage them? How do I do it? What's my style? Am I an encourager? Am I a driver? Or what's my style? And number three, and perhaps the most important, what would it be like to be coached by me? Or what would it be like to work for me? What would it be like? And so I think they ought to keep that in mind all the time when you get in a leadership role. Why am I doing this? How do I do this? What's my style? How do I handle people? What would it be like to work for me? So those are things in a leadership role, and I want to give you just a few elements here of the good teams that I've seen. And these won't be all of them, but some of them, and I want to get Fred and Susan going here. First of all, on good teams, and I think several people said this already today, team comes first. A team above any consequence, above any sale, any outcome, any game, the team has to come first. You have to have a clear idea of what you want in that team, and then the team has to come first. I was at a deal a few years ago. I've gotten to know Jeff Emelt, who's the CEO of General Electric, and we had him come in and speak to our coaches convention. And he said at GE, they get a lot of really bright people that come in, and their goal in the first 5 years is to really identify those people that can work in a setting where they're working for something bigger than themselves, when they can be a part of a team. And he said, we get some really bright people that just can't be a part of something bigger than themselves. They can't be a team player, and we try to get them out of there. He said, if you make it 5 years at GE, you might be there 25 years or 30 years. But that first 5 years is critical because we're looking hard to see who can be a team player and can put the team number one. And we did it in football all the time, and we said that team, the word team, T-E-A-M, is an acronym for together each achieves more. And I've got a picture in my house on my office wall, and it's the Big 12 championship when they brought it in the locker room, and I had all the guys get in there and hold the big ball, the big trophy up in their hands. So in that picture, I had Dat Nguyen, the linebacker who's going Vietnamese, going in the Hall of Fame this year. He's got his hands in there. Samisi Hamuli was a Tongan. He's got his hands in there. I had some Caucasian players in there. I had some African-American hands in there. And then some of the African-American guys, Toya Jones, I saw him recently, I was kidding him. I said, I had some black hands, some white hands, and some of them kind of in between. And Toya was one of those in-between hands. But the point was that all those hands, and I made a point with them, together each achieves more. This is what we can have if everybody is willing to kind of let go of themselves a little bit and contribute and say, hey, what can I do to help this team be successful? And with all those hands all holding that championship up, that's the way it works. I think we need some of that in our country. I hope you young people will get out there as you go into your lives and will help us as a country have more of that attitude. If we all work together and all pull for each other and willing not to say, what's in it for me? What can I do to help? Then we'll all be better off. Team comes first. Number two, can I trust you? Can I trust you? That's a powerful statement. Any meaningful relationship is the basis for that relationship. If I can't trust you, we can't have a good relationship. If I'm your boss, if I'm your coach, I had a little line that my players came in, and I use this over and over, and I actually learned it. I'm embarrassed to say I learned it from my college coach. One time we had a little incident when I was in school, a little mischievous deal, not bad, but Coach, Coach called us in and said, okay, there's 3 of us. I want to know about this little deal over in the dorm last night. Did y'all do that? No, Coach, we don't know anything about it. We don't know anything about it. He said, well, that's fine. He said, I'm going to take your word for it. I'm not going to call you a liar. But you need to know, if I find out later on that you sit here and lied to me, then you can't be on this team anymore. I can't be your coach. So, okay. So we get all the way out to the car. And I said, you know what, we better go back in and tell him that we did it. And so we went back in. He'd gone down the hall to get some coffee. And I said, Coach, can we see you for just a minute more? He said, I thought you might be back. So anyway, we said, yeah, we did it. So we ended up, we had some little discipline we had to go through because of what we did, but we preserved our integrity to the point. I spoke at his funeral when he passed away a few years ago. We had a great, great relationship because I didn't lie to him. And I used it with some of my players. I said, I can't be your coach. If you'll sit here and lie to me, and it comes in, the truth always comes out. Sooner or later it comes out. We can't have a relationship. I know a former college coach who was really a good coach, and he went to do an interview with an NFL team. Well, when he gets back and lands in the town where he lived, the TV cameras, someone had told them about it, so they're out there to interview him. Said, you know, rumor has it you went to interview for this job. He looks right in the camera. He said, no, I hadn't done that. So within a few hours, as it always does, the truth came out for sure. And the fact is, he had been to interview for the job. Now, here's a coach that's good enough that you got an NFL team trying to hire him. So it had nothing to do with any of his skill, but had to do with his character. Because once he said and looked in that camera and lied, then what? He became a liar. And you can go a long, long time once you violate the trust that someone has, or once you become a liar, it takes you a long time, if ever, to get over that. So never, ever, whatever you do, don't lie. Can I trust you? If you're going to be a leader or if you're going to be part of a team, you've got to be someone that can be trusted. Number 2, communications. Extremely important. Of being able to, if you're the leader or if you're part of a team, to have open, honest communication. That's the only way organizations or teams get better, to be able to share problems, share concerns, to get honest feedback. If I'm the head coach, I want to know. And I used to tell our players, if there's something we can do better, bring it to me so I can do something about it and we can talk about it. Or if I've got something, and I think if you establish the fact that you really care about people, that you're really honest, can be trusted, then you can give, if someone needs to be criticized or if some work is not up to what it should be, you can help mentor somebody if that trust is there and if there's a communication commitment. And so I think it's really important, if you're a leader, to create a totally open environment where people feel you welcome, you want people to come. So you can't bring them in the first time they come and tell you there's something, and then all of a sudden you jump on them. Well, I don't think that's the way it is. Next time, how many times are they going to come back? They're not going to come back. They say you only get to shoot the messenger how many times? 1 time. So if someone comes in bad news and you jump all over, they won't ever come back. So the leader creates that. He creates an atmosphere. So I want you to come in here. We're going to share back and forth, and we're going to all move forward. So next thing, treating other people with respect. And it just kills me to see how people, if you watch television at all, just to see the disrespect that people have. And if you're in an organization, and if you're a leader, you have every right to be demanding of those working with you and for you. No right to be demeaning. Be demanding, but never demeaning. You have an obligation to treat the highest, lowest person in the company with the same and equal respect. And it's a little rule. When I was in first grade, the local bread company gave us a little wooden ruler, the golden rule. Just treat other people like you'd like to be treated. That's not hard, but it's a very basic little deal that's so important. Accountability, you got to have high standards. And you as a person, this is something every one of you gets a chance to do this in your schoolwork here and when you leave here. How good does it have to be for you to put your name on it? We know the great artists over time, they'd spend hours, days on a painting and then look at it and say, I can't put my name on that. Tear it up and start over and do it again to get it right. So when I put my name on it, and I used to talk to these players when they played, so, you know, when people come in and watch you, the NFL guys come and they put that film on and they're watching this, that number's 64 right there. Man, does he play hard? Does he give great effort? He don't even know who the guy is, what his name is sometimes. He said, man, that's 64. I want to know more about him. I love the way he plays, man. That kid plays hard. Yeah. So I ask you the question, how good does it have to be for your name to be on something? When you do a job, you do a project, you do whatever, you do something here at school, how good does it have to be? And so when you get ready to turn the next deal in, say, I'm putting my name on this, and someone is going to assume something about me because my name's on it. It's going to be good or bad. I used to tell the players when they'd come in, you know, the NFL scouts would come around after 4 years, and I'd tell the players, each of you is going to have a reputation. And so when the scouts come in and ask me about you, all I'm going to do is relate what I've seen and known. If you've been dependable, if you've been someone that gives great effort, if you've been someone who stayed out of trouble, done all the good things, I'm going to just tell them. You get to make your own reputation. If you haven't done those things, I'm not going to lie for you. And so by having that policy, I could help the guys that deserve to be helped. So each of you gets to make your own reputation. Last thing I'll say right here, and this is what you're doing today. You're here. I appreciate you being here. One of the key things with any organization, any team, any leader is to never be satisfied. You're either getting better or you're getting behind. And going to things like this, trying to learn from these people that are presenting to you today, just learn a little bit. If you get one thing today out of the whole day, it's worth it. Because if you keep doing that and go to more things, read more books, watch more programs, you just get a little better, a little better, a little better. And I hope you do that as long as you're on this earth. It's a process where you're getting better all the time. I'm still trying to get better every day, especially at golf. I work on my golf game. But anyway, I'm going to move on to the main part of the program here. I've talked about someone that these things I've talked about. We've got a man and a woman here today who do those things. They do it. It's part of them. It's part of their culture. I've watched Fred from afar. I had him first as a walk-on football player who earned a scholarship, became a starting player pretty much through his just flat determination to be one. He worked himself into being a player and became a good player for us. I saw him when he got out, and from a distance I kind of watched him develop in the business world, and then for several years now I've been on his advisory board, and I've watched him up close with his company. I've watched the partnership that he and Susan have with their family and with their work. And I've seen their commitment to the ideals, to the culture of their company and what they are. They're that way at the office, and they're that way when they're not at the office. And they give back. They spend a bunch of time and a bunch of resources trying to make this world a better place and trying to help young people like you. So it's a huge honor for me to present this couple to you today, Fred and Susan Caldwell. Thank you.